The moment you die, something leaves your body. They actually measured it. In 1907, a physician named Duncan McDougall built a specially designed bed, one precise enough to measure the weight of a dying human being down to the fraction of an ounce. He was not a mystic. He was not a philosopher. He was a medical doctor who believed that if the soul was real, it had to exist inside the physical world. And if it existed inside the physical world, it had weight. So he waited. He placed terminally ill patients on the scale. He monitored their breathing, their pulse, their final moments. And when the first patient died, something happened that no one in that room was prepared for. The scale dropped. 21 grams vanished from the body at the exact moment of death. Not before, not after. The instant life ended, something left. Something measurable. Something real. Have we misunderstood death this entire time? Most of us live our entire lives assuming that when the body stops, everything stops. That consciousness is just chemistry. That what you call yourself, your memories, your fear, your love, is nothing more than electrical signals waiting to go dark. Science told us that. School taught us that. And for most of the last century, that was the story no one questioned. But then something strange happened. Because what researchers discovered when they went back to that experiment 100 years later, with tools McDougall never had, changes the story completely. McDougall ran his experiment on 6 patients. Only one produced the clean result. The other 5 were inconsistent, complicated, and impossible to fully explain. And that should have ended it. That should have buried the experiment in the footnotes of failed science. But it did not. Because the question McDougall was really asking, the question underneath the scale, underneath the grams, underneath the measurement, was the same question every human being who has ever stood beside a dying person has felt crawl through their chest in the silence after the last breath. Where did they go? Not the body. The body is still there. You can see it, touch it, measure it. But the thing that made them laugh at a specific joke, the thing that remembered a childhood street, the thing that looked at you and recognized you, that thing is gone, and no one has ever found it. The 21 grams experiment became one of the most controversial moments in scientific history, not because it proved anything, but because it refused to be dismissed. Researchers attacked McDougall's methodology. His sample size was too small. His measurements were imprecise. His controls were inadequate. Every criticism was legitimate. And still, the question survived every attempt to kill it. Because science can disprove a measurement, it cannot disprove a feeling that has lived inside the human species since the first person watched someone they loved stop breathing and felt the universe shift. But here is where it gets disturbing. In the decades after McDougall, researchers in an entirely different field began recording something that should not exist inside a purely materialist world. Near-death experiences, thousands of them. Patients who flatlined, no heartbeat, no brain activity, no measurable consciousness, who came back reporting the same things. A tunnel, a light, a boundary. Loved ones they could not have known were dead. Details of conversations happening in hospital hallways they could not have heard. Information they should not have had access to. And this changes everything. Because the scientific explanation for near-death experiences has always been the same. It is the dying brain misfiring. It is hallucination produced by oxygen deprivation. It is neurons releasing their final chemical storm before going permanently dark. That explanation is clean. It is comfortable. It requires no further investigation. But then researchers at Southampton University published a study that broke that explanation completely. Patients who had full cardiac arrest, whose brains showed zero activity, were still reporting accurate, verifiable details about what happened in the room while they were clinically dead. Not hallucinations. Not dreams. Specific, confirmed, external events that a hallucinating brain could not have produced. If you are still watching, The next part is the part that no one in mainstream science wants to discuss out loud. Because the data is not the problem. The data exists. Hundreds of peer-reviewed studies, thousands of documented cases. The problem is what the data implies. And what it implies is that consciousness, the thing you call yourself, the thing doing the reading right now, may not be produced by the brain. It may only be hosted there. Think about what that means. If consciousness is not generated by biology, if the brain is a receiver rather than a source, then death is not an ending. It is a disconnection. The signal does not stop. The device simply stops receiving it. This is not religion. This is not philosophy. This is the direction that quantum physicists, neuroscientists, and consciousness researchers are being pulled by the weight of their own evidence. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Roger Penrose spent decades developing a theory of consciousness rooted not in chemistry, but in quantum processes at the subcellular level, processes that theoretically could survive biological death. His co-researcher, anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, said publicly that quantum information constituting consciousness could, under their model, persist in the universe after the body dies. Persist after death. Not metaphorically, physically, mathematically. And that should terrify you and comfort you in equal measure. Because if they are right, then everything changes. The way we treat the dying, the way we understand grief, the way we make decisions knowing that whatever we are does not simply stop. The implications reach into every corner of human life, into law, into medicine, into the most private moments of loss that every person reading this has either already lived through or is quietly dreading. The 21 grams may have been imprecise. The measurement may have been flawed. But the question behind it, the question McDougall was really asking on behalf of every human being who ever lived, was not flawed at all. Something is here when we are alive. Something that thinks, chooses, loves, and fears. And when the body ends, science cannot tell you where it goes. What you just heard challenges the foundations of how we understand life and death. Follow this page for more stories that rewrite what we thought we knew. Do you believe consciousness survives death? Or does everything simply go dark? Tell me below. Some questions do not have answers yet. But the fact that we keep asking them across every culture, every century, every language ever spoken, might be the most important data point of all. Maybe death is not the end of the signal. Maybe it is just the end of the device.